This will be part 3 of our session that we're doing today. And we're going to read in the book of Isaiah today, or Yashayahu, chapter 26. And I mentioned in our last session that there's hints of the rapture in the Old Testament or the Tanakh. Most people are not aware of that. I've heard people say, well, it's not in the Old Testament, it's just in the New Testament, and it's just some new doctrine or all these kind of silly stuff that you hear. People trying to disprove the rapture. It amazes me the people that want to tribulate. I call them tribulators. They just, they just seem to be bent on the fact is that they're going through the tribulation, and they just seem like they relish in that idea, and not knowing that that's such a terrible time frame that's going to be. And also, I wrote down the other day, I was thinking about it, to believe that we are going, and when I say we, I'm talking about, of course, the church, the body of Mashiach, those that really belong to him, that know him, that have his Ruach in them. For you to believe that you're going through the rapture, going through the tribulation, I made a note, and I'll do this on one of our next few sessions and bring out the notes that I made on this, but I wrote down at least 10 things that you would have to, in other words, there were 10 different things that were impossible for it to happen, for us to have to go through the tribulation if you believe the scriptures. It just doesn't fit. If you go through the whole 7-year period of tribulation period, that it just doesn't match. The scriptures do not match us going through with that event, having to go through that time frame. And so there's so many aspects of it. One of them is the fact is that if you believe that the church is going to go through the tribulation, then how do you reconcile Revelation chapter 3 verse 10, where the Mashiach promised to those that had kept the word of his patience, that he would keep us, and that word, actually the Greek word keep us, in the Greek it actually means out of. And if you do your research, you'll find that's what he says. He will keep us out of that tribulation or that trial that's going to come upon the earth. And he's specifically talking about the tribulation period. He said he would keep us out of. That's what the Greek word says from the English word that's there in your English translation. But it actually is the Greek word ek, which means out of. And but besides that, you hear a lot of people who believe that theology that the church is going through the tribulation will say, well, that verse means that he's just going to protect us during that time frame. Well, if you read in the book of Revelation, the only through the whole part of the tribulation period, which is actually from Revelation chapter 6 all the way through chapter 19, I believe. Throughout all the judgments and the seals that are being released and all the judgment coming upon the earth and the terrible things that are happening, and any reference to the saints that's mentioned in there and I call them tribulation saints. These are saints who come to know the Mashiach or come to call upon him for salvation during the tribulation period, or saved during that time frame. You see that they're being beheaded or they're being killed. And that the Antichrist is given power over them. Now, so in other words, if your theology is that we're going to be protected through that time frame, it doesn't match. It doesn't match, with Yahushua saying that he would keep us out of. He was talking about he would take us out before that time frame, is what he's making reference to. I don't want to go into too much of that because I really had not intended to. So. I hope this is not getting too windy for you. But I do want to read in Isaiah chapter 26. And we're going to start at verse 19. And it says here, your dead men shall live together with my dead body. Shall they arise? Awake and sing, you that dwell in dust or dwell on the earth. For your dew is as the dew of herbs, and the earth shall cast out the dead. What does this sound a little bit like? It sounds like 1 Thessalonians, where the dead in Mashiach shall rise first. This is, of course, talking about the resurrection. Some people say, well, when you talk about the rapture, there's no rapture, it's the resurrection. Of course it's the resurrection. They're one and the same. The rapture is the resurrection, but there's more than one resurrection. And but anyway, let me continue reading here. It says, cast out the dead. Come, my people, verse 20, come, my people, enter into your chambers and shut your doors about you. Hide yourself, as it were, for a little moment until the indignation, or that would be the day of wrath, be overpast. For behold, Yahuwah comes out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. For the earth also shall disclose her blood, and shall no more cover her slain. So this is definitely an event talking about, the time frame this is talking about is in reference to the tribulation. These verses here have not been fulfilled yet. They are to be fulfilled, and it's clearly making reference to an event where the dead shall live together. In other words, they'll be resurrected, is what it's talking about. He says, come my people. Now, when he says here, come my people, a lot of times we get the verses confused when we think, of course, my people is a reference to the nation of Yasharel in many instances of the scripture. But in this particular one, the ones he's talking about, my people, he's talking about those that are in Messiah, in Mashiach, that are the bride of Mashiach, whether you could be Jew or Gentile. My people is a reference to the people he's talking about. Now, he's telling us, come and hide yourself for a while. And again, this is making reference to, and he says, enter into your chambers. This is very similar to the what Yahushua said in John chapter 14 about that he was going to the Father's house where there's many mansions. So he's telling us to come and hide ourselves for a while. Now, this time frame, I'm convinced, is this 7-year period of tribulation that's going on upon in the earth, and we will be hid for a moment, as he says right here. And then he says that Yahuwah is coming out for the purpose to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their sins. So again, this supports the fact is that what Paul said, that we have not been appointed to wrath, but to obtain salvation through Yahushua HaMashiach. We'll continue this on our next session. Thank you for your time this afternoon. I hope these words bring comfort to you, because that's what this message is about, to help to comfort those that are in Mashiach, to know that we will not have to go through this terrible time frame, and that you're ready to meet him. And others, your family, your friends, that you're telling them to be ready, because the Mashiach, the Messiah, is coming, and he can come at any moment. Shalom.